Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the R&D Podcast with myself, Rachel.
And I'm Delia.
And today we're going to be talking about
Da-da-dum!
living in the shadows. Do
Living in the
you
shadows.
feel in your marriage like you're walking in his shadow? Maybe you're a guy watching this. Really, the show's for women, but if you're a guy watching this and maybe you feel like you're walking in her shadow.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about what that looks like and how to manage the situation.
Yeah.
And then see what comes out of the conversation.
For sure. Yeah, I think a lot of the time with a lot of the women that I do speak to that are trying to get into, the business world, there's always like these hiccups and these things that, these barriers that these men will create in order for you not to succeed. And it's so weird because it seems like they're cheering you on, yet they are putting barriers in your path. It's like, okay, you're going to go to this meeting, but did you take the laundry? Did you take the dry cleaning to this? Did you do this? Did you do that? So it's kind of like the Cinderella effect of, you can go to the ball, but you got to do this. And oftentimes I think that, when you pick a partner, in my opinion, it's like they are supposed to help you elevate and you're supposed to help them elevate. And oftentimes that's not the case. And so, as a woman, you could get stuck living in their shadows because maybe they're the ones that are the bigger bread earner. And maybe they're the ones that, actually, pay the mortgage, do all the things. And you understand that without them, you're kind of stuck. Yeah. And that's a really tough place to be,
Yeah, I think that one of the other ways that it shows up is, it could be a financial way that it shows up as well. It could just be a popular way. For example, he might be a very outgoing, charismatic person and everyone thinks he's so amazing.
Right.
And then you're just like this person who only sees like the dog in him or whatever.
Right.
And so that could be a tough thing that he's just more liked, or more likable, but you have to live with him and a different version of him.
For sure.
That could be how it shows up as well. But also in getting involved with someone who is a very successful person.
Right.
You might have met him when he was first coming up and then he really hits it and makes, his dreams come true, so to speak. And you get to benefit from that life, right? The wake of that life. But then you struggle maybe as a woman to find your own identity in that, your own light in that. And so that's what really this episode is about, is understanding that walking in someone's shadow doesn't always have to be a negative thing.
Yeah.
But also like how to find your own light in that shadow.
Well, and I think with not only finding your own light, Rachel, I think that what I've noticed also is that, when we have great news, the first person that we want to share it with is with our partner, right? Or the person closest to us, right? Your inner circles. And so obviously the person that you're doing pillow talk with would be your partner, whether that's your boyfriend, girlfriend, or that is your husband or wife. And so I think that what you want is for them to say, that's great, babe, I'm so happy for you, and keep it moving, versus them getting really quiet. And if you know your person, when things kind of don't align with them, or maybe they're kind of getting a little bit like bothered by certain things. And so, I think there's nothing worse than having to not have the celebrations in front of your partner, because you understand that if you should celebrate this, he's going to get upset. Because a lot of the time I think that men are not only like, usually the hunters and providers, they want to be also the persons that bring you joy. And so if they're not contributing in any way, and you're finding that joy with, you creating your own lane as far as, business is concerned, they may not like the fact that you're in your own lane trying to create something for your family, really. Yeah. And so they don't see that you're literally trying to collaborate with what he's doing with what you're doing, and trying to basically put it all in one pot. And oftentimes they see you more of a rival than they see you as a partner. And I think that's the difficult part when you have, someone that you are living in their shadows, because sometimes they want you to stay in the shadows. I'm not saying for everyone, by the way. I'm not saying 100% of the time this is the way it is. But from my personal experience and what I've seen, that's the way it's kind of worked out, where I see that the men get a little jealous.
Yeah, I think that really, first and foremost, if you're watching this, you have to ask yourself, do you truly have an issue being in this man's shadow? Can you be his true unconditional cheerleader? Like, first and foremost, if you cannot, you got work to do. You got to figure out what is it about that bothers you.
Right.
And you got to get to the truth of that, I think. I'm not a psychologist, but I really in what I do with, with CEO and I mentor a lot of women now at this point, and even my podcast, Rachel Delia, like one of the things that keeps coming up, 100%, I told Delia before we hit record on this, I said, oh my gosh, 100% of the women in relationships are facing this issue with their significant others. And it's dumbfounding to me because I would have never thought that.
Or imagined.
We know what we experienced in our own personal journey, but to know that it's happening 100% across the board. So knowing that, ladies, that 100% of the time, the men are feeling some kind of way about you wanting to spread your wings. I think it starts first backing up and going, what is it about you being in his shadow that makes you uncomfortable? Yeah. Because it could be leading you to the truth of something bigger, like, what if he leaves me and then I have nothing? Well, now you're thinking in terms of your marriage ending, which you shouldn't be, like they say, the divorce shouldn't be an option. You shouldn't be thinking of the end while you're in it. So there's all these things, right? And we can argue that all day because there's pros and cons to both sides. Always. But you got to understand there's some sort of insecurity in you that's developing. You're seeing something in him that's making you go, maybe I need to do something to make myself more self-sustainable. Yeah. That might not, by the way, even be the reason. But I can tell you that's what guys think when they see their beautiful wife who's been just so happy with the situation, all of a sudden want to start a side hustle, start a business, and oh my God, babe, I'm going to do this and it's going to make me this much. I'm going to get to do this. He just sees feathers growing on your wings and he's like, she's going to fly away. Yeah. And you might be thinking, oh no, if I can make an extra $5,000, $10,000 a month, we can get that house in Utah or Florida or whatever. But that's not where his mind is going.
But you know what? Respectfully with what you're saying, in my opinion, I feel like if he was treating you right, though, he wouldn't be looking at your feathers because he would think, you know what, no matter what, she's in it with me through thick and thin.
I think guys don't think like that, though. Genuinely.
I think if they're not treating you right, they're going to definitely feel that way. Because if for whatever reason they're the main provider and somehow, some way they're not treating you 100, then you know what? They are going to see that feathers are growing out of you.
They're going to get very intimidated. But I will tell you, the guys, because I know a couple ladies that have come to me and their guys are amazing and they still react like this because they're confused. They're like, I'm so good to you. I provide, why? No matter what, when I tell you 100% of the women eventually reach this wall. Yeah. And the wall is the partner, the husband in most cases. And so I've learned in my coaching career, if you want to call it that, is the last one in her ear wins. So I could sit there on a Zoom all day and pump her up with all this amazing content and information. But when she goes home at night, like Delia said, and she's like, babe, guess what I learned today? And did you know that if I do this, I could double my money? And whatever it might be, that last thing he said, he's the last one in her ear.
He's thinking feathers.
He's like, oh, sure. You know how many people failed in that? You know how, and then it's all the negativity. Yeah. And then by the next week when I talk to her again, she's like, oh, I don't know, because guess what?
They seem doubtful.
They're very doubtful. It creates an insecurity in them, and then they don't want to ruffle his feathers.
For sure. Yeah. And oftentimes the unfortunate part about this is, in my opinion, we always talk about communication being really important, right? And oftentimes I think that in order to protect the energy of whatever it is that you're working on, you will omit a lot of things.
The fail to mentions.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think a lot of the time, you know that if you start to say, hey, you know what, possibly we're going to be doing this conference in, I don't know, another state or what have you. I mean, I could see if you're traveling out of the state and you're not going to take your significant other, that could be a problem. But let's just say on a hypothetical, you're thinking about growth and how you're going to evolve. If you're sharing all these different things and he already feels that he's being threatened, you have to kind of keep certain things to yourself. And I think that there's nothing worse than that, because I think when you're not communicating these things, then it makes it seem like you're lying. And it's a fail to mention, yet you're not lying, but it's because you failed to mention it. When it does come up, it's like, well, why didn't you tell me? But that's because you know that he's not going to be okay with this new transition or this new possibility. And so you have to be really strategic on how you deliver the message. I mean, maybe you just don't cheerlead so much if it's something that you really want to do, because I think oftentimes you have to know your person. And I think that's what it boils down to, is knowing when and where. I think it's not what you say, is how you say it. And it's timing. Life is timing. You got to know when. You can't just be like, he's under the car, he's changing the oil. You're like, hey, babe, guess what? And so you have to know timing. And I'm not saying that guys change the oil because they don't do that no more, but I'm just saying timing is so important. And maybe, giving enough, but not giving too much and not sounding so happy, which is unfortunate because sometimes some men do not want to see you prosper. I'm not saying all men, but most men, depending on how they're treating you, they may not want to see that side of you prospering. And
I think that when we get into the communication, it's really on that pillow talk to say, babe, I really want to do this, but like, what is it about this that makes you so uncomfortable? Are you like, let's really unpack it. Are you just not trusting in the direction that I'm going with my investment, with my time, with the business type that I'm the type of business I'm getting into, or are you imagining that I'm just going to make $1 million and leave you? Like the more you can understand and get to the truth, I think the better, because then you never know. He might actually then go, wow, it's actually not a bad idea, and he might actually then go, oh, you know what? Let me invest in you. So I will say this, and this is what I tell the women that I've been guiding lately. It's really your first test. It's the first test to prove if you're cut out to be an entrepreneur and to be a businesswoman. Because if you cannot sell this man that you do life with, you can't sell anybody. So really figure that out. Because if you're avoiding getting to the truth because you don't want to ruffle the feathers, you're avoiding that tough, you think it's a tough communication. It's going to be something so simple, but you got to get to that truth over and over and over again, because it's even when he gets better, it's going to revert back at some point. And then also really quick back to the cheering and the supporting and wanting to share your dreams and goals with him and expect him to be your biggest cheerleader. That's feminine energy. That's not what the guys do. So I'm a big proponent of like, there's people for everything. You got your girlfriends for certain things, your family or whatever it is. And I know in a perfect world in our minds, we think, oh, I'm going to tell him and he's going to be like all in. Yeah. But unless he met you on that road already, I don't know that that's a realistic expectation. I mean, I think you can communicate like, but I think I want your support, babe, and like this is to me like the signals that you when you do this, it tells me like you like support me.
But I definitely think though, wouldn't you agree, Rachel? It's a vibe though. You kind of vibe out your person, like you kind of know when something's bothering them, or when you say something didn't like hit the chord right. So in my opinion, I think I agree with what you're saying. However, I think that you could vibe out your person,
but you can't react to the vibe. Like no, but you gotta like if you feel it in that moment, go, hey, so like, do you not like that I got a new client? Like in that moment, he's gonna be like, well, no, it's fine. It's just that, he's gonna say, but the laundry, like, he's gonna come up with something else. Yeah. And you're gonna have to repeatedly go back to the core of making him feel secure, though.
Yes, however that is. And I'm not sure that, you're going to be cut out to actually map it out for him every day when you have a new client. Well, this guy got him through here, there, and you're mapping the whole thing out because maybe he's insecure. But
and they don't need to know that. Here's the thing,
that's true.
Here's the thing. They don't even need. They don't even want to know. Like you don't gotta go and say, hey, today, today I went in a meeting and like blah blah blah. Like who cares? Talk to your business partner. Like, talk to your associates. Yeah, like, if he says, "Hey, babe, how was your day?" You know what? It was great. How was yours, babe? That's it. Easy. It doesn't need to be all the checks and balances.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's so true. But at the end of the day, I do believe that we all have a purpose in life, whatever your purpose is. And so if for whatever reason you feel that you are living in someone's shadows, I think that there's nothing worse than that, right? Because I do feel that you feel like there is a reason why you're on planet Earth, and it's not just to be, this person's wife. And so if something is what's bringing you joy, then you got to look for that without it ruffling feathers. And like I said, it's never about what you say, it's how you say it. Timing is so important always in life. And so you got to come at your person in a very friendly, nice way to say, hey, you know what? I kind of want to change in this regard, and then see what his take is, because I think that at the end of the day, you will drive yourself mad, and you may have this resentment of like you got stuck at home with the kids raising children and you never got to do what you wanted to do, because I think there's nothing worse than having resentment towards your partner because you didn't get a chance to evolve as a person. You were always just this person's wife. And there's nothing wrong with being wifey. I mean, that's nice, and doing the things and the laundry and the kids, that's a beautiful thing. But if you feel that you are made for bigger things, then you have to find a way to communicate with your partner to say, you know what, I kind of want to do this, and that person needs to, you need to feel that they're supporting you, because at the end of the day, you marry this person to have support within each other, and if you feel that there's that lacking of, then you have to make him feel secure that you're not going anywhere and you're going to stay with him and your family. But it's so hard sometimes to reassure your partner that your whole thing is that you're just trying to evolve as a person.
But also, I think that, men aren't problem solvers, and I think they want to feel like they're solving problems for us, whether it's opening a jar or like, fixing something on the roof. And some of them are not handy whatsoever, but they still want to be the one that makes the phone call and pays the guy that comes out and does it. And I think you got to watch that. But I will say this. If you're a woman and you have kids and you have school-aged kids, like first grade on up, and they get out at 2:45 or whatever, make the case for that. To say, hey, babe, like, the kids don't get out until 2-something. Like, once 2-something comes, that's it. I'm done. Like, I'm not going to answer a business call. I'm not going to go to a meeting. Like, you don't got to hustle that hard if you want to pursue your goals and your dreams. You just got to manage your time wisely. Yeah. And you can have all the things, and that's what you got to remember. Like, you could be a great wife. He's not there all day. Mm-hmm. You're not being a housewife all day where he's there all day and you're, like, massaging his feet. Like, he's at work. He's making moves. He's doing Zooms, whatever he's doing. The kids are out there going to school. Even if they're homeschooled, they're still having to have their moments. You can get your laptop, open it up, and do the things that you're looking to do every single day. Dedicate the time, with focus while they're at school. And then when they get home, then you could do the, dinners or, run around for sports. They don't have to suffer. They're not losing their mom. Right. And so if you can find a way to say, hey, the kids aren't losing mom, and you're not losing me. Yeah. And if you can find a way to manage that, whether that's taking Fridays off and focusing on each other, whatever that is, it's not worth rocking your marriage over money. Like, it's not worth it. So you just got to find that nice balance that works for both of you guys, and understand that it's going to be a win-win for everybody. And the kids will be inspired, by the way, when they see mom pursuing her dreams and making moves. That's something that I've seen across the board as well. Yeah. So
that's so true. Okay, and then I think that's all we got, kind of.
I think that's it. If you're living in the shadows, just ask yourself, like, what is it about him having all the glory that bugs me? Yeah. Get to the truth of that. For him, what is it about what you're doing that makes him feel insecure? There's some truth there that if you dive in face first to that, you might actually solve a bigger issue in your marriage. Yeah. And it actually will be the catalyst that moves you forward, I think, in a stronger way.
Honestly the most important thing. And I think that, we can't stress communication enough, and understanding, timing, and then, just presenting whatever it is that you're trying to do. And at the end of the day, you also matter, and you have to remember that. And so if that's something that you want to do, pursue, your life dreams, and don't let no one hold you back, but also don't rattle cages. So I think that's all we got.
All right. Cheers. So cheers. Have a good one.
Cheers.